Cheers, man.
Cheers. There's so much to look at. He's just got so much character.
Yep. Yeah,
so much character. I mean, he's got, I don't know if I'd call that 2 points there. I don't know.
No, that's just one right
one
there.
point they call that.
Yep.
So he's got 4 stickers off there. I mean, he tore some trees up. I mean, the burls on him are wicked.
Yeah, he's got burls all the way out on his main beams. You know, he's kept the same uniform. Every year we've had him on camera. You know, tall brows, tall tines, always split main beams. And last year, one of the last pictures we had, I forget what side it was, but one of his main beams on the end split broke off, clearly from fighting.
What was the first year that you'd seen him?
So he was actually a 2-year-old deer because he's aged at 4.5, but he was an 11 pointer from what we could count.
Wow.
So
as a 2-year-old,
you know, yeah, we're just like, oh, you know, I didn't know anything about aging deer or anything like that. I was just, you know, nice buck, I want to kill it. And then next year, obviously, we had a monster 14 pointer. Now it's a big buck that like everybody in that area would talk about. And same thing, you know, he disappeared, and I was the last person to have pictures of him the last day of muzzleloader season, and he was just passing through. He was like 2 feet in front of my camera, and I could just make out it was him. And then last year, 2021, like I said, we had that one video of him where he came in the frame. He was with 3 other bucks. He had a spike horn that later got killed by another guy, and a nice 8-pointer that got also killed by another guy. And he came in for a second. He's like, "Oh shit, something ate right here," and backed right out of there, and didn't expect it at all. Even though I had him on camera and everything, it was just based on like the previous years. He'd just show up beginning of the season, and then he'd be gone. And of course, I had mock scrapes out, you name it, cameras everywhere. It's only 400 acres on the lease, and I'd have every other buck on the lease there, even these couple other dominant smaller 8-pointers. And he would just show himself once in the beginning of the season before season would open up, and then usually at the end. I hunted the lease the day prior, so it's a second day of early archery, and you know, I'm walking like 2 miles back to 74, and didn't have any luck that day. There's another guy up there bow hunting, didn't have any luck, and so the next day I wasn't even gonna go up in there. But anyway, last minute I decided to go up in, and I parked my truck thinking that my buddy was going to be there. He wasn't there, so I was like, cool, I got the whole lease to myself. So I walked back, and I'm just zigzagging, checking trail cameras and everything, and I see this doe. I was going to shoot anything. I was just ready for some meat, you know what I mean? It's the first,
that's awesome, yeah.
First,
I got you, ready to put some meat in the freezer.
It's like the first time of the year I'm ready to kill something. And I see this one doe, I'm up high on a ridge, and you know, she stood up, and it was about a 30-yard shot, and I could have shot her, but I didn't have like a clean shot, so I was like, I'll just pass. She blew, took off, and I was like, whatever. So I walking down the trail a little bit more, and I'm still hunting, just sitting, walk a little ways, sit, wait. But anyway, it was like about 6. I decided to walk out, and I was just hungry and wanted to go home and eat food and go to sleep. So I'm just walking the trail back. I stopped and tied my boots, and I wasn't gonna go check this one camera, and I decided to, and that took up like a minute or 2. So I went and checked that, and I'm just continuing down the trail. Didn't have an arrow knocked or anything, and I'm like, you know, if I see a deer, I'm obviously gonna shoot it, but I'm just beelining pretty much for the truck, you know,
yep.
Still being quiet. And finally I get about 200 yards from the truck, and I just happened to look over, and underneath the canopy, it's a little bit more dim, to where I could make out the body of a deer.
Yep.
And I'm on the trail, so it's like brighter than hell, you know what I mean? It's open, no trees
right
above you or anything. So I'm walking, I'm like, oh shit, there's a deer right there, you know? And it happened so quick. People are like, oh, you must have got, like, I wouldn't have been able to keep my nerves straight or anything like that. I would have, you know, I would have screwed it up somehow. And I tell him, I'm like, dude, I didn't even have time to think. I didn't have an arrow knocked, and I'm just like, shit, there's a deer right there. So instantly I knocked an arrow, and I sped up my walk a little bit faster, probably about 15 yards down the trail, and I walked about 5 yards in the trail, and he was probably 50 yards off the trail. So he was about 45 when I shot him. And he was just standing there perfectly broadside, and I drew back, and I had like a perfect tiny little window like that, maybe 10 inches in diameter to shoot through, and it was absolutely picture perfect. So I drew back, and I was like, holy shit, it was a buck, you know, because I was hunting 2 other 8-pointers, never thought I'd see him at all. So I drew back, and I was like, holy shit, it's a buck, and flap. And when I shot, I hit him a little bit high and obviously spined him, and he went down.
He was facing you anyways, right?
Yeah,
that's what I mean. He
knew.
was semi-alert, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he dropped when you
So
touched
he
the
was
trigger
just sitting
too.
there exactly the way he is. That's the pose I got him when I shot him, and I know in judging by like where I was to like where I noticed him, he watched me walk easily 80 yards, and he was just going to stand there.
He was going to stand there and let you just walk by.
I really think so, yeah, because all throughout the summer, like everybody's riding four-wheelers and shit through the trails, and who knows?
He's used to some people being around here and there, and he thought you were just going to walk by. And
who knows how many times we've drove by him and not even noticed?
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I shot, he dropped, and he went about 10 yards, just dragging himself. He got caught under a tree, and I went over and I was like, "Holy shit!" I was just completely stunned. So I put another arrow into him. And I just kind of like tossed my bow off to the side and just screamed "holy shit" for about seemed like 5 minutes anyway, and he was still kind of he was dead, he was dying, but I was like, I'm not taking any
risk.
So I put another arrow in him, yeah. So I went over to him and I kind of like pulled him out from under the log that he was stuck underneath, and I'm just holding him. I'm like, oh my god, I hope he don't come back to life because he's gonna like gouge the shit out of me. You know what I mean? And so I'm just counting the points. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm fired up. Like my face is beet red. I'm like freaking out. And I counted, I'm like 20. And I counted him, I think 5 times I counted it. And I'm like, no fucking way. Like 20 points, who the hell's gonna believe me? I just shot a 20-point buck. So I just kind of like held him and took it in for a minute. And it's starting to get dark at this point. So I had to walk like 200 yards to get service. So I'd like start walking away. And I'm like, nobody's gonna believe me. You know what I mean? So I took a quick picture of him on the ground. I still got it actually, and then I ran back, and the first person I called was my dad. Of course he wasn't home, and my mom picks up, and I'm like, mom. I was like, where's dad? She's like, what's wrong, hon? I was like, where is he? She's like, calm down, what's going on? I was like, I just shot a 20-point buck. Wow, that's a lot, she goes.
Yeah, right.
So, and I was like, it's like 180. He's like, gotta be 180. She's like, what does that mean? I was like, it's fucking huge. You know what I mean? So you obviously go through, oh, it's a farm deer, or shot it out of the truck, or whatever.
There's always there's a lot of jealousy surrounding killing any big bucks.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean, right?
But so another story, like a couple days after, I think it was like 2 days after I had shot him, I was talking to my neighbor, and I was like, dude, I want to call NCON. And he's like, absolutely, I would.
That's a great idea.
So I did. I called NCON, and I forget the officer's name, but anyway, he come and I had a few run-ins with him. He's always been very decent with me, and so he comes, he's looking at it and everything, and he's like, do you mind taking us to where you shot him? Absolutely, so I hopped in his truck. We drove over to the lease, and there was 2 of them there, and they scouted out the area, obviously asking 100 questions, see if you'd slip up for something. And I'm like, dude, like this is how it happened, you know what I mean? And then after like a 30-minute like interrogation, kind of, they weren't being dinks or anything.
No, they're doing a job.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing a thorough job.
Yeah, they were decent afterwards, and it was like a good cop, bad cop kind of thing. And then like a switch flipped, and one said to the other, he's like, well, seems legit to me. I think whatever the hell his name was. And then there was like a switch flicked with that guy, and he's, we're all high-fiving and congratulating him. We're just bullshitting, talking about hunting and stuff like that. So pretty neat. So
that's good. I mean, all your buddies seem pretty happy about it. They shared it for
they've been
months.
Great. They've been great with it. There's like, everybody's been super great. No jealousy. I would have been just as happy to see anybody else shoot that deer, and I would be right by their side the entire time.
Same.
It's just, it's still mind-boggling the fact, like me, like I'm the guy that got him. It's incredible, man. Super thankful for it.
Anyways, thanks for sitting down with me and telling your story today. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
Good luck this hunting season.
You as well.